So we're going to start off with our first segment for you guys. We're going to be going into the recusal victory, but just wait. So here we go.
A major twist in the Karmelo Anthony appeal this morning. The judge who oversaw the original trial was recused Wednesday, and this means now that a new judge will oversee this morning's hearing for a new trial.
So Trevor Sohaki has been following this case closely for months now, but joins us live at the Collin County Courthouse in McKinney. Trevor, we just want to kind of specify here, this does not guarantee that Anthony will get a retrial.
No, it does not, Madison. This new judge could grant Karmelo Anthony's request for a new trial, or he could deny it and send the case to an appeals court. Now, this new judge is retired Kaufman County Judge Michael Chitty. He was appointed after Anthony's attorneys argued the original judge, John Roach Jr., gave an improper public interview 2 days after the trial ended. The South Texas judge yesterday agreed, saying in part, quote, "Would they have a concern about the judge's impartiality based upon those statements under that limited finding? I'm going to grant the recusal that a third party looking in would have that issue."
You're not supposed to comment on cases while the case is still in the trial court. There's still motions that have to be heard before this case can go up on appeal. So it jumped the gun. The fact of the interview was too early.
Supporters of Karmelo Anthony cheered and celebrated together after the recusal was granted. Dallas pastor and candidate for Congress, Reverend Frederick Haynes, helped coordinate one group of supporters for Anthony and the call for retrial.
We are not insensitive to the fact that a life was lost, but we also don't believe that two lives should be lost through injustice.
While prosecutors did not speak after the ruling, in a statement, Anthony's lawyers said in part, quote, "We look forward to Karmelo's opportunity to present on the motion for a new trial tomorrow before what we believe will be a neutral and impartial judge." Anthony has been serving his 35-year sentence in a Central Texas prison for the last 2 months after a jury found him guilty of murdering Austin Metcalf at a Frisco track meet last year. The 19-year-old has maintained he stabbed Metcalf in self-defense. And just like yesterday, there were a group of supporters that are now moving towards the courthouse behind me. You may be able to see some of that motion behind me. They're getting ready to line up right outside the courthouse, and some of them will be in the courtroom today. Now, they are lined up outside there, but the hearing does not start today until 9 a.m. We will have a reporter inside the courtroom and bring you the very latest.
So there you have it there. The recusal was approved. They are getting a new judge. His name is Judge Chitty. That's Chitty. He's actually a retired attorney who's now brought back onto the case. That is normal for retired attorneys to come back and retry cases. So that's a normal thing. With that being said, we're going to play another video because I want everybody to get the details of what this actually looks like before me and Rain gives our thoughts and opinions about this in a little bit more detail. But I want you guys to hear from that same news channel, but they are actually there talking about the appeal, the hearing after day one. Again, these next couple days is them trying to actually get approved for a new trial. Some of the positive things that I do want to pass on, if he is approved for a new trial, he will be able to go back home on bond. Everything goes backwards, guys. So if a new trial comes into play, it's like he never been to trial. So he'll go back home. He'll be able to be with his family, be with his friends. So worst case scenario, that'll still be a positive, regardless what the end result may be. If he's able to do a new trial, he will be able to start from where he started from, which he was out on bond and on home arrest. So something positive to think there. Again, if everybody in the chat, you're welcome to your opinion. Just be respectful. We understand everybody has a thought process on this, but we're just trying to give the facts and give the news. So we're going to play a little bit more here. So here we go.
You are watching After the Hearing, a streaming special we have here on WFA on the Karmelo Anthony appeals. We're going to break down everything that happened today and what's going to be happening in the next couple of days. In June, a jury convicted Karmelo Anthony of murder and he was sentenced 35 years in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf. We have an esteemed panel here. Let's start with Todd Shapiro.
No, not esteemed. Okay, I appreciate it.
You're here.
Thank you.
And you know law.
I'm here, I know law, and I'm sweating, so let's do it.
It is warm. Long-time defense attorney.
Yes, sir.
We have crime justice reporter Rebecca Lopez. Let's break the news first.
Yeah.
What happened today?
So today, a visiting judge, or a judge that was appointed by the presiding judge, who is Judge Wheelis here in this area, basically appointed a new judge, Judge Sid Harrell, and he heard arguments from the defense on whether or not Judge Roach, the original judge in this case, should be removed, and he ruled yes, he should, and he removed him off this case.
This hearing lasted only an hour and 20 minutes. Your initial thoughts on the ruling?
Well, I'll be honest, I can't recall sitting in a recusal hearing and intently listening to what's presented. So one of my curiosities as an attorney was, what evidence are they going to present in this hearing? What, besides Roach being called to testify himself in the video, obviously, are there other witnesses? What exhibits? And that was answered in the courtroom. I mean, it was really a succinct, specific, pointed motion, and the was provided was enough to sway this judge and say, yes, Roach needs to be recused.
So Judge Roach is out,
Yep.
right? Let's talk about the rubric that the Judge Sid Harrell used to make that determination.
Right. So it was, I don't want to say confusing, but it was a legal point that he made, basically saying, y'all filed this motion for recusal and listed a number of different reasons. I'm going to rule on your recusal based on one point that was brought up, and that is that reasonable person standard from the outside looking in at the proceeding, whether or not things were done fairly and impartially and can continue to be fair and impartial. And he believed that Judge Roach's comments to a particular reporter here in Dallas on a particular day that is standing a foot from my left, that he asked the questions and the Roach gave answers that kind of tended to show that he's maybe made his mind up on the motion for new trial before it ever even happens. So I do think that a part of it from our judge today was an abundance of caution. Mm-hmm. The appeals process is a confusing thing as well. What's in front of the court right now was the recusal motion first and now a motion for new trial over the next day or two. That does not include his quote unquote appeal. Okay, so this is not about his appeal. One of the things that this ruling did is take away the possibility of this being a point for appeal, saying that the judge denied our motion to recuse, Roach heard it, denied the motion for new trial, and now we're going to use that in our appeal to say, once again, this is another reason why this case should be overturned.
Well, one of the things that the defense attorneys were also trying to say is that he violated these canons, basically that governs what judges can do. And they felt that maybe he overstepped in what he was doing when he did the interview with Jobin, but also that he was biased. And basically, Judge Harrell said, I did not find that to be true.
Correct.
He just had a different measure about why he removed him.
Yeah, I understand what Judge Roach was doing. I think he ran an incredible trial. It was efficient. It was fair. There wasn't anything about any rulings of evidence coming in or going out that looked to be problematic. Judge Roach himself did not act in a way that would lend itself to say that he wasn't fair and impartial. It was the interview after the fact that is causing these issues. And the question becomes, if this case was still in his jurisdiction or pending in his court, especially the motion for new trial, which is heard by the trial judge, why didn't he just wait maybe a few more weeks until that was all settled and then be able to talk? I mean, we all know Judge Roach on his way out. This was his last big trial. But nobody likes to be turned over on appeal, and nobody likes to be the subject of, you did this wrong, even if he is retired. I know he's still going to sit as a visiting judge and things like that. And he's got a perfect record of never being overturned on appeal. So, was it a lapse in judgment on Roach's part to give the interview? I mean, who knows? But at the end of the day, it does not change the fundamental landscape of this case, which is tomorrow and the next day, they've got to prove why they think they deserve a new trial, regardless of who the judge is.
Let's talk about the evidence. Like the majority of the time was us listening to the interview we did. It's a 20-minute interview. And I asked you this question just a few minutes earlier before this, and that was it the act of doing the interview that probably led to this decision? Or
you muted.
I do want to stop in between these segments, and Rain, you can chime in as well. I still don't think everybody has learned how powerful voices are. That's what y'all going to see a pattern of today, this afternoon, of everybody giving their biases and opinions very swiftly. But then I'm going to also show you guys some things, and Rain are going to read some things to you that kind of shows you where things might be heading anyway. Just to give everybody clarification, the retrial has not been accepted yet. The recusal for the new judge has. So there's a new judge that's going to be taking over this case if they go to trial. Now they're doing appeals to try to fight for why they feel a trial is justified. So they're already starting to talk about the case. They're presenting material. Remember now, the prosecutor and defense are both there now again. So they are giving new information over. Penny brought up a good point about what the gentleman said. So he believes he doesn't believe he deserves it. He believes it's just wasn't the perception of bias. So what that, and we all talked about it when me and Rain covered it on Same Soil, Different Route. We said the same thing. Like, why would the judge come and talk so soon? Like it wasn't even less than 48 hours. He was already doing the interview. So that's what got him pretty much taken off the case. If you guys go listen to all the broadcasts and the notes from the recusal, they didn't take him off because he did a bad trial. They said they only removed him because it would look as biased if they kept him.
Yeah.
So they don't feel like he did a bad job. They only feel like, hey, if we don't take him off this case, the public eye is going to think differently. So what is your thoughts on that, Ray?
Yeah, you have to choose your words wisely before you speak. I know sometimes we flare off and not have our thoughts together, but those words that he said, and I can't remember exactly what they were, bought him this recusal, So I think it needed a new judge as well, and my eyes have been open today wide on all this new stuff that's coming out. And we're gonna get to all that, y'all, coming up. But my thoughts and opinions might, change. Do I still feel that, as I felt all along, that the charge was not justified? Absolutely. I don't think he should have got murder. Do I feel like the sentence was not justified? Absolutely. I don't think 35 years is a bit much. But we'll get into all that, and especially with these new details are coming out. It's lit.
Yeah, so we're gonna play a little bit more. He said, yeah, we found both Austin and Hunter. Yeah. We're gonna talk about it.
We get into it.
Welcome in, flip the strip. We're gonna talk about it all. We're gonna talk about both sides. Yeah, we'll get to it.
Or what he said in the interview.
Maybe a combination of both. I think they interpreted the jury got it right comment, or they didn't, what that meant to me was if the jury came to a verdict, that's why they got it right. Whether it was guilty or not guilty, it's none of my business as the judge. But they got it right by listening to the evidence, deliberating the issues, coming to a verdict, deliberating during punishment, and coming to a punishment verdict. So in that sense, the jurors got it right. But I think that was interpreted as, well, that means he thinks that Karmelo was guilty, and he's going to view the motion for new trial in that lens. But to me, that was one argument.
Todd, how unusual, because I've covered trials for a long, long time in courts. I don't recall a judge doing an interview while the appeals process is still going on in his court, and he may rule on it. That's really unusual.
I agree with you. And looking back on it in retrospect, I'm sure he probably feels the same way as maybe I should have done that interview. It's not like he got on there and said anything again that was fundamentally unfair. But given the interview probably was the impetus for the recusal.
Don't you think, it's a valid argument from the defense?
I do think it's a valid argument. I think Russell did a fantastic job. He's a great lawyer. He was incredibly prepared, extremely articulate. He got to the point, established what their points are for the recusal. And, it was an interesting situation because.
And shout out to Karmelo's new team, man. I've been talking about it a lot, even on our No Middleman when we do bring it up. Great team. He does. He has a good team. I think if he would have had this team the first time, we wouldn't even be going through a lot of this. He would have still been tried. He would have still got some time, but I think it would have been of a lesser charge. But again, he has a good team. Mr. Russell and them, they're a good team. Very, very good team.
The state was there and they got to make an argument. Well, the state doesn't represent Judge Roach. So the state really doesn't have a position other than to say he got a fair trial and we believe in the verdict that the jury reached. Otherwise, we're not here to defend Judge Roach. That's not my job as a prosecutor. So it's almost like they were a little bit of fish out of a water. It was more the defense trying to convince this new judge that Roach needed to be gone.
Collin County DA's office, Bill Werski says, I don't know why I'm here.
Right.
I'm not here to defend the judge. I like the judge and I think he did a good job.
Right, exactly. And it just was a awkward two-step, I would say, that you don't usually have normally in a court proceeding, you've got opposing parties that are arguing for opposite things. In this case, it was a defense motion, an argument, and the state kind of going, I think the guy got a fair trial, and that was really it.
And he says, it's not my job to be here to defend Judge Roach's actions. However, according to Bill, he felt that he did and ran a fair trial.
Right. So, Rebecca, we had the video interview, right? And now we also have Russell Wilson mentioning the public's access to the courtroom and violations of the Sixth Amendment. Can you speak to that argument?
I think that was one of the biggest concerns in the trial when this was all going on the first time, because so many people felt like they got excluded from the courtroom. And while he didn't close the courtroom, the courtroom was open.
So we're going to stop it there. They're pretty much giving their rundown of how they kind of felt about everything that went. Of course, we know the recusal went through. So they do have a new judge on the case. Karmelo has a new team. I will give you guys some updates because I am in the state. They are opening up extra rooms now. They're doing totally different what the first judge did currently for the hearings. So they're allowing 40 seats for like media. You have to get there at a certain time. I think it's by 6 o'clock, and then by 7 o'clock, you have to be in line. They're giving out 40 seats for media, and then they have an overflow room. Today, the overflow room was full with a church. Pastor Hines here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area brought pretty much almost his whole congregation out, and they flooded the overflow room. But I do want you guys to know there's already a little play going around because it takes up to like 48 hours to get approval for like airing of the case. So nobody's going to still be able to see these hearings. That they have to make a decision by Monday. Monday is the last date that the judge can make a decision if they want to go to trial or not. So again, people are out to pay their respects. People are out supporting. The atmosphere is definitely different. But with that being said, they're still kind of doing similar protocols to what the first judge did, like letting a certain amount of people in, but now they just reopened the overflow room. Because again, it's a huge courthouse out there. It's multiple cases going on in the city. So it's not just like that one case taking over the whole building. So just something to think about there. But how do you feel about it so far, Rain, that he has a new judge? Doesn't sound like people are really like jumping to conclusions on certain sides. I still think it's still some bias of what people feel has happened. But what is your thoughts?
I'm thankful that he's getting or will possibly get another chance at a trial to change. I did not agree with the initial charge and the sentence. I think that the gentleman's clause that we talked about over on no middleman, I don't think that should have went down. I wish in my heart of hearts that he would have had the lawyers that he had then or now that he would have had then, so we wouldn't be going through all of this. I feel with it had been a whole year before they went to trial, there should have been more things put out in the forefront. There was too much hidden behind closed doors. For what though? You know, I wish he would have had better counsel in the beginning. Hopefully this is a new page being turned. And we cannot forget though, in all of this, that a life was lost regardless. So yeah, whether it was intentional or not intentional or however it went down, we've seen the tapes and all that, the blurry tapes that you really can't see. I couldn't tell. But at the end of the day, a life was lost and somebody has to pay. So
yeah. So, and just to let you guys know, we're going to give y'all more and more information tonight. Because this afternoon, we're on earlier. I guess it's night for some of y'all. It's just tonight. It's for y'all. But I want y'all to see both sides of the coin too, because sometimes things can be what we called in the military prompt and circumstance, like a dog and pony show in layman's terms. This recusal, getting him off the case. But everybody that got him off the case keeps telling you he did a great job regardless. Like, Souls likes to give you guys the focus points of like what's actually being said, because what's being said is more important than what you're seeing. There's a lot of actions that can take place just to give you hope, but behind the scenes, people are already creating their new result.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to talk about a lot of that tonight. Welcome in, Flip the Strip. She said Mark Howard is horrible attorney with the public defender background. It's not that great. Big facts. But I'm going to also give you guys some information about the new judge that they gave you guys. There's a lot behind all of this. She said the idea that they want Black people to guess whether their life is in danger or not. Yeah, we're gonna give you some more information. We're gonna give you some more information because we wanted to bring it to you guys. I'm hoping they don't wait last minute until Monday. I think the sooner we get the answer, the better. I'm one of those people. No news is good news, I guess people would say. But in these type of situations, I feel that sometimes holding out is not always the best results. Like in these type of cases, right? Because look how quickly they got the judge out of there.
Yeah.
So everything else should be just as quick. You know what I mean? Time and speed was something we complained about with the Nolan Wells case, right? So we should be having the same sense of urgency for the Karmelo Anthony case. Like, what's taking so long? What's the issue? You know, those type of things. Lil Penny said, "Agreed, dog and pony." Since they starting with opinions, yeah, we're gonna give you a lot of what people are saying tonight. Welcome in Fence 1684. He says some kind of constitutional violation had to be violated to get a new trial. Yes, so what they're running on, sir, is the bias concept that it's no way that judge can give him a new trial and not still feel the same way he felt on that interview. Because on that interview, he made a statement saying that he felt they did a great job. Karmelo is a great young man that made a bad mistake. So at that point, he already gave his opinion that he thought it was the right decision. So there's no way somebody gonna switch their decision for a new trial. So, and they said that's the only reason. If he never came out with that interview, we would not have a new trial or not have a recusal because we don't have a new trial yet. Miles said procedure. We have to trust it. Yeah, Miles. But I'm gonna keep the eyes open tonight. I'm gonna show you guys a few things tonight. Penny said define double jeopardy. We'll look it up for you. Appreciate you, big dog. Flip the Strip said this is alarming from Daniel Penny to Nolan Wells. Black people have no defense when their attacker is white. You can claim self-defense and they will get self-defense when they attack. Flip the Strip, I know you're probably new to our channel, but one of the things that I try to articulate, which what Mr. Russell is doing for Karmelo now, he's educating Black people on the legal system and the justice system. Like, he came to our city, he went to Pastor Hines' church, and he held a whole symposium about the laws, how things work when you go to trial. And I think that's where it starts. We have to get more and more education so that we can be ahead of all these things. Like when we heard about that shaking of the hands agreement that the team made and the family agreed with it too, like we were already in trouble. You know what I mean? So, but I definitely respect your opinion, Miss Flip the Strip. I was going to say Soul said, double jeopardy means the government generally cannot prosecute someone twice for the same criminal offense after jeopardy has legally attached and case has ended in a qualifying way. I will tell you. Oh, go ahead, Ray. You muted.
Under the Fifth Amendment, though, it usually protects against being tried again after a conviction for the same offense. So even if he does get a new trial, he won't be charged with murder again.
But he can. There's a lawyer called Fit Lawyer ATL. She's out of Atlanta. She's actually here local. I would definitely encourage you guys to go watch her because she's giving a lot of legal advice. Black lady, very intelligent. She also mentioned, though, he can get a higher charge.
Oh, okay.
He can get a worse sentence, Flip the Strip. She covered that today on her channel. He can get a worse sentence if it goes back to a retrial. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the retrial means they're trying it all over again. He goes back to being on his bond and everything. Like, I will highly encourage you guys to go watch the Fit Lawyer ATL. That's FIT Lawyer ATL. She broke all this down for us. Again, that's what I'm really here to try to do, is just provide knowledge and education, because I think our emotions can be better handled if the she said how he got murdered with the max. Yeah, but they didn't give him the max years. The max is life. He got 35 years. So he could go back to trial and get life. I would say look it up though. She speaks about it. He said so the question is what is qualifying?
At this current time, that's not been determined if it's qualified.
Yeah, it hasn't been determined at this time, Penny, if it's qualified.
Unless they've made a decision yet, but I don't think so.
Yeah, so but again, we're gonna talk through it, guys. Flip the Script. I hope you stay with us throughout the weeks. We're gonna be very present on this. We're gonna bring updates. We try to bring updates as much as possible on new cases.